Tēnā koe te whare, tēnā koutou te whānau o te Parramatta, tēnā tātou katoa. Members, we are debating the first reading of the Radiation Safety Bill. When we broke for the dinner hour, the Honourable Annette King had 8 minutes and 20 seconds remaining to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The Honourable Annette King.
Mr. Speaker, it's always good to see my favourite cousin in the chair. Mr. Speaker, before dinner, I was raising with the House the need for this bill and the slow pace at which it has proceeded, going back to 2002 when the Ministry of Health undertook a review of the Radiation Protection Act 1965, and then we had a regulatory impact statement which was prepared in 2004 which identified that there would be net benefits from drafting new legislation. At that stage, the intention was to extend the scope of the legislation to include harmful non-ionising radiation, but the government decided in 2009 that the current regulatory regime was satisfactory. Of course, when we're talking about non-ionising radiation, we are including electromagnetic fields, including cell phone towers, Wi-Fi, micro-ovens, ultraviolet tanning machines, power lines, etc. They are not addressed in this bill, and according to the Minister, they will continue to be regulated under New Zealand standards. And this was raised when I was Minister, and when we look at what's happened since then, if we look at the interagency committee on the health effects of non-ionising fields at the Ministry of Health, they say that it's extremely low, the research shows that extremely low frequency electric and magnetic fields have very little harm to New Zealanders. And so the fact it's not going to be regulated under this bill but continue to be carried out under New Zealand standards, we do not oppose. Unless there is strong evidence to do otherwise, then we would say that, that we should continue with the current Ministry's recommendations. And even the World Health Organisation, with regard to public health risks posed from electromagnetic fields, has said that the epidemiological evidence is weakened, one by the methodological problems such as the selection bias, and in addition there really is nothing to suggest that low levels exposures are involved in cancer development. And so unless we have better evidence than what we've got, then continuing to regulate them through New Zealand standards we would support. So what this bill is to do, however, is to protect the health and safety of individuals and the environment from the harmful effects of ionising radiation. For example, apparatus such as X-ray machines, radioactive material that occurs naturally, uranium, and artificially manufactured cobalt-60. And so that's what the bill intends to cover. It also, Mr. Speaker, says that this bill will cover the use, the transportation and the disposal of ionising radiation, both, as I said, man-made and also naturally in quantities above the stated levels. There's a fundamental requirement that stipulates that the radiation use occurs only when the expected benefit outweighs the risk, that exposure must be kept as low as reasonably achievable, and that prescribed doses limits must not be exceeded. So that really is the guts of what this bill is about. It also does enact a number of other things that are important. It enacts New Zealand's domestic implementation of the International Convention for the Suppression of Acts of Nuclear Terrorism and the amendment to the Convention on the Physical Protection of Nuclear Material. It also allows for the Atomic Energy Agency international inspectors to be appointed by the Director to undertake activities in New Zealand. International inspectors must be accompanied by an enforcement officer appointed by the Director under Clause 39 of the bill. And so while these international inspectors have no powers under the bill, the accompanying enforcement officers do and would be authorised to exercise those powers to fulfil New Zealand's relevant international obligations. It also introduces a new regime of authorisations for individuals or organisations using radiation material. So it is a bill that it has in it some quite heavy penalties for those who contravene the authorisation or other provisions of the Act. It is a bill that its time has come. It is quite a technical bill. It's a bill that probably many people have already gone to sleep listening to me talking about it. But it is an important bill for the fact that it is about protecting the health and safety of individuals and the environment, and as I said, meeting our obligations under a number of international conventions. The Minister, when he was speaking, talked about the use of radiotherapy and how this bill would play a role in that. And of course, radiotherapy is one of our foremost treatment for cancer in New Zealand, and ensuring that that is done in the right way and the safety of individuals are protected is very important. There's also, as I said, does not cover some other areas, the non-ionising area, and we have before us at the Select Committee the whole issue of the UV tanning machines. And of course this is not going to regulate them. They're under standards, and I wonder whether this House will have the courage at the Select Committee to in fact ban those machines altogether. I think that rather than looking at a standard for UV training machines, we don't need to do that. We could actually follow Australia, which has already banned them. In fact, I'm told their old machines that they no longer use are being transported over to New Zealand for us to tan and burn New Zealanders and lead to high levels of skin cancer, melanoma. So it doesn't cover that. They'll be covered by the standards, but I'd say to this House, we've got an opportunity to go past the standards by coming back to this House and actually banning the UV tanning machines altogether. So, Mr. Speaker, this bill is much needed. The update is much needed. It's only taken since 2004 to get it here on the House today, but we welcome it and we'll support it.